What's up, guys? It's your favorite QB coach. We're going to do a quick little analysis of Hinako Shibuno, the most recent Japanese major winner. Again, there hasn't been too many of them, and she just did it against a very strong field at the Ladies British Open. So let's go do this thing. Alright guys, so if you guys are new to the channel here, make sure to go down and hit that little red subscribe button. We do videos like this hopefully on the weekly here pretty soon. And yeah, let's hop into this video. So if you didn't know already, guys, we have a website membership channel now basically. So we have a lot of our videos being uploaded to that. We're going to be doing less videos here on YouTube. So if you want to watch videos on our website, again, a lot of them are free. Go ahead over to the website. There'll be a link down in the description. We're going to have a bunch of videos, especially more videos talking about Hinako as well on the website. But for this particular video, I just want to do a video talking about basically trying to give you guys, I don't know, some motivation for the Japanese professionals out there, because obviously Hinako just proved it. It can be done. You guys can win out there on the big stage. You guys just need to kind of follow simple concepts, and hopefully we can kind of lay that out in this particular video and you guys can follow along. So let's get to the first point of this video. So the first point of this video is with Hinako is what I would recommend for her and her coach, I don't know if they're already doing this, is whenever you're playing well, you got to start databasing what you're doing well, right? I.e. for them, if they're looking at golf swings in a 2D sense like we are right now, they got to be basically analyzing what she's doing in her golf swing and tracking it down and basically putting it down on a list to make sure that if she ever gets away from her playing well, she can come back to this checklist of ideas that she was doing really well right now. And hopefully she can be better because of that, because again, I see a lot of professional golfers don't really have a blueprint like that. So when they do get away from their games, they usually have a hard time finding it, i.e. like a Hideki Matsuyama, like Satoshi Kodaira right now on the PGA Tour. We see a lot of Japanese players who try to go out to the American tours usually end up failing ultimately because I think they just don't follow this blueprint. So hopefully we can give some simple ideas in this particular video of what she's doing very well. And let's hop into the down the line view first. So with the down the line view, ultimately what I want to talk about is just really simple setup fundamentals. Because again, with the professional golfers, when we tend to see them mess up, it's really small little minute changes that they are messing up. And typically you can always draw back to the setup, right? There's a reason why Jack Nicklaus, one of the all-time winning players out on the PGA Tour, as well as the all-time major champion, the reason why he went to his coach every single season before the season to work on the fundamentals, because again, if he puts importance on it, you guys probably should too. So it's really, really important for you guys to track these fundamentals, especially when you're playing well, because again, you're probably going to see that they're shifting when you're not playing well. So with her, what I would recommend is, what I like to do first off is I like to draw a line from the middle of the hand straight down, and this just kind of just shows me how far away she's standing from the golf ball. So if she was doing this herself, what I would recommend is film this, get the correct camera angle, and make sure it's a consistent camera angle, and then draw that line and see basically with each club how far away she's standing away from the golf ball. Because what she's probably going to notice is if she starts hitting it worse or she starts hitting it not so good, she can maybe go through these checklists and be like, okay, I'm standing the correct distance away from the golf ball, that's not the issue. Maybe it's ball position that's the issue, which we'll talk about here in a sec. But again, it's that checklist item, right? So let's go to the face-on view and I'll show you another one. So we kind of just referenced it or foreshadowed it. That's the ball position, right? So I think this club might be like an 8-iron or 7-iron, but dependent on camera angle, right? Because this camera angle that she has right here is not the exact camera angle I would probably use. But it appears that her ball position is a little bit more forward in her stance than I think it is, just because the camera angle is slightly off. But again, I would have the correct camera angle, or at least a consistent camera angle that you film every single time. Consistent's more important than correct technically, but if you're a teacher, you want to have the correct. But yeah, she needs to set up with the same ball position that she's doing currently every single time. Now, another little thing that I see professional golfers tend to mess up on when they start playing bad is their grip, placement of the hand starts getting a little funky, right? Maybe they take like a couple weeks off and they come back and they're gripping the club slightly different, and it throws off a lot of things, right? So what I would do for her is I would be tracking, okay, so where is the placement in terms of like the V's, and her lead hand or trail hand V is pointing somewhere up right around kind of here-ish, right? So it's pointing towards the lead ear, and then her lead hand is pretty much pointing around the same position, right? So she relatively, she has a pretty weak grip. So Even though that's not our preference, guys, that would be a checkpoint that I'd be doing for her if I were a coach. Again, because she's playing well. You don't really, if she's playing well enough to win a major championship, the LPGA, you don't technically need to change her swing, even though I probably would if I were her coach, but you definitely need to have these checkpoints. Now, another thing that tends to go awry, I see as well, is going to be stance width with these players in terms of setup. So what I would be doing too with her is drawing a line straight up and seeing basically her stance width with every single club, and make sure throughout the years and throughout the months that she's consistently staying within these parameters that we just kind of talked about. Now, the second point I wanted to make about in this one is we're just going to talk about a really cool move that I see a lot of the modern golfers out there doing. It's the shallowing motion with a flexing move, essentially, right? Let's go talk about the infamous shallowing move, right? So again, some people are under the impression that some professional golfers don't shallow at the golf club, and that is absolutely incorrect, right? There's multiple types of shallowing. Sometimes there's players who don't do it with the wrist conditions going like this. They do it with hand path falling behind. Technically, even though the club head wasn't going and falling this way, it still went and shallowed or went behind, right? Which is essentially kind of what shallowing is. But this player actually is not doing that. She's actually shallowing a little bit more traditionally to what I see like American players do it, albeit her hand path falls more behind than you see the guys. But you do see a lot of LPGA girls shallow the club and have the hands fall behind. It's kind of a pretty common move. But as you can see, the club is, the center of mass really is what you're looking for, is dropping behind the hands. Now it's falling a little bit more behind the hands as the hands are kind of working down and out. And then we start seeing it working away from the hands even more. And let me kind of zoom out so you guys can see this. And then right around here, pretty much here, it starts working out towards the golf ball again. So it's starting to work now horizontally out as that center of mass is trying to get back to the golf ball, essentially, right? So she is shallowing out the golf club. Now the second part, the most interesting part to me actually, is something that I haven't seen a lot of JLPGA players do, is she's actually got this really nice reflexing move, right? Which I don't recommend everyone to reflex as much as she is, but I do recommend a lot of players do have some type of reflexing move, and let me kind of show you what I mean. So if I draw an angle on the, that's the lead wrist right here, she's over at like 171 degrees at the top of the swing, right? That just means that might not be exact. Like if we were using hack motion, that might not be exactly where she's at, but it just means she has a relatively neutral wrist, right? It's not really bowed, it's not really extended at this time. But what she does in transition, which is really interesting, is she does have a flexing move, right? And let me kind of prove that to you real quick. So if we go draw an angle here, and go draw an angle on her wrist, she went down to 159, right? So she's flexing that wrist in transition. Now, why is that important? Because it gets the center of mass, essentially, basically the sweet spot pointing more up towards the sky, which essentially just means it's having the better potential to square up or get close to the arc, you could call it, maybe a little bit earlier. Not really close to the arc, but more square to the arc earlier. It's really just, for me, it's a great way to square the club face. Even though I don't really like that term, but it's a good way to square the club face, as well as I think it really complements the shallowing motion. I see a lot of the Japanese instructors here teaching shallowing, but with a wide open club face, which means the center of mass now has to do a lot of work late in the golf swing to square up. And they do it because they've been taught essentially passive torque, and they think that if the hands work out and the club head falls behind because of the positive and negatives, the club face is going to square up, essentially, right? That's the passive torque that the Japanese instructors think is true. Not necessarily the case. There's actually this guy, Michael Jacobs, which I've been introduced to recently, who's done a lot of his own testing and actually can basically measure forces and torques. He has basically done a lot of testing himself, and he's found that there's actually passive torque, and the way that it's defined currently is not technically correct. There's actually work done at around position 6, right? So if you get that club face wide open at position 6, you're going to have to do a lot of work to square up that face, i.e. you're going to have to get a lot of supination, right? So don't be one of those players who's getting wide open at position 6 and trying to do that. Maybe if you're hooking the ball like crazy, that might be an okay thing short term. But for the majority of you guys, please don't do that. I don't want to see you guys do that. But anyways, so this was the video, guys. Again, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to give it a like, comment, a share if you guys enjoyed it and want to share it with your friends. And as well, again, I can't say it again, check out the website. There's a bunch of great free videos on there. Free, that's right, free videos on there. Go check it out and check out the paid content as well. All right, guys, see you guys next time.